بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Brothers and sisters in Islam, I remind you to have a sincere intention in your heart when attending a lesson of religious knowledge. Do not underestimate the reward that one can get by attending the circles of knowledge. This is something that one ought to spend one's time in doing. So one does not say, I've already learned a little, that is enough for me. No, one should be keen on continuing to seek the religious knowledge from the trustworthy, knowledgeable people until death. And there is great reward in that. So always when you are hesitating whether to attend a religious knowledge given by trustworthy, knowledgeable people, and you're hesitating whether to attend or not, or the devil might start whispering to you, leave that out, you already learned, they might repeat the same thing. Say to yourself, if I do not attend, do I have something better to do with my time? Because your time is very, very precious. The moment that goes away from your time, it's part of your life. When it passes, it's gone. You're not going to get this moment that passed back. It's a part of your life that is gone when it passes. So think to yourself, if I do not attend this religious lesson, and there is great reward that I can earn when attending, and it is of great benefit for me, do I have something better to do with my time? So always think like that. If you have something good to do that is important that you need to do, always prioritize what is more important, takes precedence than what is less of importance. Inshallah ta'ala, in these lessons, we will be continuing from where we stopped in our lessons that we spent time together during the last month of Ramadan. And for those of you who attended with us, you remember we spoke about very important topics that cover matters that talk about the obligatory knowledge of the religion. The Prophet, alayhi salatu wassalam, he mentioned in a hadith that there is a portion of the religious knowledge that is an obligation upon the accountable person to acquire. So when we say it is an obligation to acquire that portion of knowledge, this means if one is obligated to seek that knowledge, to acquire that knowledge, and one neglects doing that, one would be committing a sin by leaving that out. One would be sinful for not acquiring that part. So it is important then to make sure that one has acquired the obligatory knowledge of the religion. With this knowledge, one learns what is obligatory upon me to do so that I make sure I satisfy the obligations. With this knowledge, one knows what are the sins in order to avoid them. You might wonder, do I need to know what are the sins? I learn what the sins are in order to avoid them. I learn what kufr is, how to differentiate it from what is not kufr in order to avoid what is blasphemy, in order to avoid what is kufr. Because the scholars said, if one does not know evil, one might fall into it. And this is dangerous. So one should protect oneself. Yourself is important to you. You care about yourself. So you need to protect yourself. How do you protect it? You protect yourself by the religious knowledge so that you do not fall into what contradicts the belief and you do not fall into committing sins for which you would deserve the punishment of Allah. So then one learns what are the sins to avoid them. And one learns how to do the acts of worship properly. One learns what befits to be attributed to the Creator and what does not. What are the attributes of the prophets and what befits to be attributed to them and what is not permissible to attribute to them. So in our lessons that we have already spoken about in Ramadan, We talked about the belief, the meaning of the two testifications of faith, which is something of great importance. Then we spoke about apostasy. We started talking about some of the matters that are obligatory upon the guardian of the child, so that this person knows what are my obligations towards my child. How do I raise my children? What is obligatory upon me to teach my child? We spoke about some of these matters. We spoke about acts of worship, such as the ablution, wudu, how to perform it. And we spoke about the invalidators of ablution. We talked about tayammum, how to perform it. And we also spoke about removing filth from one's body, how to remove the filth, how to do istinja. And inshallah ta'ala, we will continue today. So these acts of worship, such as the prayer, such as wudu, one has to have the correct belief in Allah for these acts of worship to be valid. Because if one does not believe correctly in Allah and His Messenger, then doing these acts of worship will be of no benefit to the person. Why is that? This is because it is a condition for the good deeds to be accepted by Allah, to have the proper belief, to believe correctly in Allah and His Messenger, to believe in what the Prophet ﷺ taught his companions about the attributes of Allah, to believe that our Creator, who created all the creation, is not like His creation at all. He created the creation and He does not need any of the creation. He created us and He does not need us. So when we fulfill the obligations, we benefit by that. Allah Ta'ala does not benefit by that. When we commit sins, we're doing injustice to ourselves. Allah Ta'ala is not harmed by that. So Allah Ta'ala does not need any of His creation. He created the skies and earth and Al-Arsh, and He does not need any of them. God existed eternally, meaning without a beginning, so His existence has no beginning. And all the creation has a beginning to its existence. So as Allah Ta'ala existed eternally, and there was no place, no sky, no earth, so Allah existed eternally without a place, and God does not change. So after creating the earth, the seven skies, Al-Arsh, paradise, and hellfire, Allah exists without a place. He does not occupy any place. He does not need His creation. And whatever is in a place is created because it has a volume, and volumes are created. And we said that Allah is not like His creation at all. This is what the Quran teaches, and this is what our beloved Prophet ﷺ taught the companions. And the companions taught that to their followers, and in turn, the followers taught it to their followers, and so on until this precious knowledge reached us. So the Prophet ﷺ taught his companions that the Creator has attributes of perfection which do not resemble the attributes of the creation. The attributes of Allah do not change. They have no beginning and no end. So among the attributes of Allah is will. The will of Allah does not change. Among the attributes of Allah is His existence without a beginning and without an end. And that Allah has power over everything. And that Allah Ta'ala sees without eyes and hears without ears. He does not need any instruments, and He's not like us. So I have a body, God does not have a body. I have hands, God does not have hands. I have a face, our Lord does not have a face. Always have this belief firm in your heart that our Creator is not like us at all. And this is then what you teach your young, precious children, that the Creator is not like His creation. So Allah sees without eyes, Allah hears without ears. Now, if a person comes to you and tells you other than that and tries to use a verse from the Quran to support his false claim, know for sure that they are misinterpreting the verses from the Quran. They are lying. They are contradicting the Quran. And know, my brothers and sisters in Islam, that the verses of the Quran do not contradict each other. The Quran clearly teaches that Allah, the Lord of the creation, is not like his creation at all. This is clearly stated in the Quran in many verses. So for sure, there are no verses that contradict that. Okay, the verses of the Quran do not contradict each other. So what happens is that some people, unfortunately, try to interpret verses on their own, or they are taking the knowledge from people who are not trustworthy. They are not fit to teach the religious knowledge. They themselves did not learn from trustworthy, knowledgeable people of Ahlul Sunnah. So what ends up happening is they make up things, they contradict the verses, or they misinterpret them, and they are spreading this belief that contradicts the creed that the Prophet ﷺ taught us. So one should be very careful. Yes, this knowledge is very precious, and one should be cautious from whom to take this knowledge. One should take this knowledge from people who are trustworthy, knowledgeable, who acquired this knowledge from trustworthy, knowledgeable people. And this chain goes back to the Prophet ﷺ. And know that this is what we mentioned is the belief of all the prophets. For all the prophets came with the religion of Islam. All the prophets share the same belief. So millions and millions of Muslims worldwide share this belief that I just told you, which is that our Lord does not resemble his creation at all, that the attributes of Allah do not resemble the attributes of the creation, that our Lord does not change, that our Lord does not need any of his creation. So our Lord does not need the sky, he does not inhabit any place, he is not a body, he is not attributed with movement or rest or being in a place or changing or being in a direction or having a body or sitting or locating from one location to another. No, these are all attributes of created things, and Allah is not attributed with them. Okay, so always have the firm belief in your heart that the Lord of the creation is not like his creation at all. And as we said, we said that all the prophets came with the religion of Islam, starting with Prophet Adam alayhi salam, including many others that came after him, such as Prophet Sheeth, Idris, Ishaq, Yaqub, Yusuf, Musa, who some call Moses, and Isa alayhi salam, whom some call Jesus. And the last of them all is Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. He is the last of them and the best of them all. And we love all the prophets. We believe in all of them. All of them said no one is God except Allah. All of them taught people about the religion of Islam. For Islam is the only religion accepted by Allah. This, my brothers and sisters, is clearly mentioned in the Quran that Islam is the religion that Allah Ta'ala accepts. Other than Islam is not accepted. So then be careful. We do not respect disbelief. We do not respect what is contrary to the Islamic belief. So a belief where Allah is being cussed or the prophets are being cussed, we do not respect that. So then I want to warn you from a statement that unfortunately some people nowadays are spreading on social media, and you should be warned about this statement. They say that they respect all the beliefs. No, we do not do that. I can be friends with non-believers. I can have friends who are not Muslims, but I do not respect a belief that contradicts Islam. So I do not respect other than Islam, because other than Islam is an incorrect belief. It is not correct. They are saying things about the Creator that do not befit to be attributed to the Creator. So we do not respect that. If someone cusses the Creator, would you remain quiet and say that you respect that? No, for sure not. For sure not. And in a belief where they attribute to Allah what does not befit to be attributed to Him, this is not proper. So we do not respect that. So always be strong. When it comes to remaining steadfast to the correct belief, stay strong. Do not deviate from the correct path, because what will benefit you on the day of judgment is having the correct belief. These people that you compromise your belief to please, they will not be of any benefit to you on the day of judgment. If you fall into disbelief because you want to please a disbeliever, this disbeliever will not save you from hellfire on the day of judgment. So your belief, that is something that is very, very precious, and you should keep it, protect it until death, so that you enter paradise on the day of judgment. So always stay firm, be strong, do not deviate from the true path. You know, the prophets, they suffered a lot, even though they had a very high status. Yet they suffered a lot, they endured a lot in order to spread the belief of Islam. So we need to also be patient, even when we are faced with hardships and difficulties, and even if the enemies of Islam are trying to put obstacles in our way, and they are trying to deviate us from the true path. We need to remain patient and remember to follow the path of the prophets. So remember that they endured a lot more than we are nowadays. So we follow their path, we take them as role models. We don't take random people who are spreading falsehood on social media as role models. No, these are not our role models. Whether they have 100,000 followers or over 1 million followers, if these are people that do not adhere to the correct belief, they're not our role models. This life is short, and the winner is the one who wins on the day of judgment. So one should have the proper belief then in Allah and His Messenger. Inshallah ta'ala, we will continue from where we have reached, as I have told you. So today, inshallah, we will talk about the invalidators of the prayer. Okay, for those of you who just joined, I remind you to have a sincere intention in your heart, seeking reward from Allah Ta'ala by listening to the religious lesson. So we will talk about invalidators of the prayer. We spoke in our previous lessons about conditions for the prayer to be valid, such as being a Muslim, such as being mumayyiz, such as covering the awra, such as, directing oneself towards the qibla. Inshallah ta'ala, after the lesson, I will share with you the link where you can access these previous lessons, because they are very important, very, very important lessons to listen to and to share with others as well. Okay, so now we will talk about the invalidators of prayer. And inshallah, in our next lesson, we will talk about how to perform the prayer. So, among the invalidators of the prayer is to speak in as much as 2 letters or one single letter which carries a meaning, unless the person forgets and the statements uttered were few. So, if a person is praying And while praying, he uttered words, words that people talk, conversation. We're not talking about verses of the Quran. We're not talking about dhikr, okay? Like people converse with each other. So if a person utters even 2 letters, even if they don't have a meaning, or 1 letter that has a meaning, in the Arabic language, there are letters, even though it is just 1 letter, yet it carries a meaning. This word is made up of only 1 letter, but it has a meaning. So in the Arabic language, there are such words, even though they have only 1 letter, but they carry a meaning. So if one was praying and this person remembered they are praying, and despite that, they uttered intentionally a letter that carries a meaning or 2 letters that do not carry a meaning, but that have nothing to do with the prayer, not verses of the Quran, not dhikr, rather conversational letters, words, then this invalidates the prayer. So then one would need to restart one's prayer, okay? So this then invalidates the prayer if the person does that voluntarily while remembering that one is praying and while knowing that doing that is prohibited, okay, while one is praying. Also, among the invalidators of the prayer is performing many moves, which according to some scholars are continuous movements that last for the duration of 1 rak'ah, meaning 1 cycle. So this is according to one scholars, if the person did many movements consecutively that last the duration of 1 rak'ah, 1 cycle. And other scholars said if one did 3 consecutive motions, then this invalidates the prayer. So one should be careful then to avoid such matters when praying. Another invalidator of the prayer is performing a single excessive movement. So in this case, if it is a movement that is considered an excessive movement, here, even if it is just one, then it invalidates the prayer. When we say an excessive movement, like what? Like, for example, if the person is standing praying and then he jumps from this place, he jumps. This is considered an excessive movement that invalidates the prayer. And the scholars mention these matters so that the person is aware in order not to fall into what invalidates the prayer. Also among the invalidators of the prayer is adding an extra physical integral. Inshallah ta'ala, next week when we talk about the integrals of the prayer, you will know that there are verbal integrals and there are physical integrals of action. Now, in this case, we are saying if a person intentionally adds an extra physical integral, this invalidates the prayer. Like what? Like, after reciting Al-Fatiha, we bow to make ruku'. So in each cycle, in each rak'ah, there is 1 ruku' only. So if a person intentionally adds another ruku' in this one rak'ah, in this one cycle, this invalidates this person's prayer, okay? So if they intentionally add this second ruku'. I gave the example of ruku' because this is an example of a physical integral, all right? So then performing an extra physical integral invalidates the prayer. Also, among the invalidators of the prayer is performing a move with the purpose of playing. When the person is praying, one is doing an act of worship. This is not the time to play. So while praying, one does a movement with the purpose of playing, then this invalidates one's prayer. Also among the invalidators is eating or drinking
except if one forgets that one is praying and it was little what one ate. So while praying, you know that we do not eat and we do not drink. So if a person intentionally, while knowing that one is praying, he knows he is in the prayer, and intentionally he drinks or eats and he knows of this judgment, then this invalidates the prayer. So I want to draw your attention to a matter here. Sometimes you might eat, and after, having had lunch, you want to go and perform the prayer. Here, I advise you just to rinse your mouth to make sure that there are no food left over in your mouth. Now, in case you start the prayer and then you notice, for example, that there is still something, food remaining in your mouth while you've already started the prayer, you do not stop the prayer and you do not swallow that remaining food that is in your mouth. Okay, so you take it out. You continue your prayer and you take it out. You don't interrupt the prayer and you do not swallow it. Even though it's in your mouth, you don't swallow it inside your body cavity. Rather, you take it out and you continue your prayer. Also, among the invalidators of prayer is intending to interrupt the prayer. So if one, while praying, intends to interrupt it, it becomes invalid right away. Okay, so one should be careful. While praying, do not intend to interrupt your prayer. Also, deciding to interrupt one's prayer if something happened. So making that contingent upon the occurrence of a matter. What does that mean? If a person says, if so-and-so happens, then I will interrupt my prayer, and this person is praying, then this prayer becomes invalidated right away. For example, if one is praying and he says, if the phone rings, then I will interrupt the prayer to answer the phone. Whether the phone rings or not, he invalidated his prayer by this intention. So when praying, forget about the phone, forget about the door, focus on the prayer, okay? Because if the person makes his intention to interrupt the prayer contingent upon the occurrence of a matter, like the example that I just gave you, this would invalidate one's prayer right away, whether this matter occurs or not. All right? So also among the invalidators of the prayer is hesitating whether to interrupt it or not. So again, let's give the example. A person is praying, and while praying, somebody knocks at the door, and the door is far away from him, and he starts hesitating. Do I stop my prayer to go and answer the door? This hesitation is not good, because by him hesitating, he invalidates his prayer. Also among the invalidators of the prayer is to complete an integral while one has the doubt whether one established the intention to perform the prayer in the opening statement, Allahu Akbar, or not, or if the duration of the doubt was long. What does this mean? You know that, and inshallah, we will talk about that next week as well. When the person starts praying, we start the prayer by saying Allahu Akbar. And while saying Allahu Akbar, we establish the intention in our hearts. For example, if I want to perform the Dhuhr prayer, then I would intend in my heart that I am performing the obligatory Dhuhr prayer, for example. Okay, so if one started the prayer and then started doubting, did I intend or not? Did I forget the intention? Did I intend or not? And this doubt remained and for the duration of an integral. So an integral passed and this person is still doubting about this intention, whether this intention was established or not, then this invalidates the prayer. Likewise, if an integral did not pass, but that duration of doubt was long. If that was long,
then it also invalidates the prayer. So these were the invalidators of the prayer that I wanted to share with you today. Inshallah ta'ala, in our next lesson, we will talk about the integrals and also about another important matter, which is one needs to know about, which pertains to gaining reward for one's prayer. This also we will talk about, inshallah, in our next lesson. Barakallahu bikum. I like always that we end our lessons by saying tahleel, meaning La ilaha illallah 3 times. I urge you to say it slowly so that you say the name Allah clearly and correctly. Allah, not Allah. The name of the Creator is Allah, so we should say it correctly, Allah. And then we will say As-salatu ala nabi together 3 times, and we will make dua 3 times, inshallah. We do that every time with a sincere intention, seeking reward from Allah. So, lillah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. رب اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات. رب اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات. رب اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات. May Allah Ta'ala bless you. You are very welcome. For those of you who wrote me a message, inshallah, I will send you the link to the previous ones on the WhatsApp group and invite others to attend our WhatsApp group as well to benefit from these daily short lessons that I share with you in the group. Muhammad, is it a question that you have, dear?
I just wanted to say, Barakallahu Fika for your lesson. It was very beneficial.
You know,
Barakallahu Fiki.
I'm so proud of you, Muhammad, and it's so lovely to see you attending again since our last time in Ramadan. So, Barakallahu Fik, may Allah Ta'ala grant you piety, and inshallah, you will become a pious man who will also spread the teachings of the Prophet alayhi salam. I thank the dear sister who shared the WhatsApp link in the chat, so you can see the WhatsApp group chat link for you to attend. If you are not in the group, attend, and inshallah you will benefit from the lessons that are shared in that WhatsApp group.